Good morning, dear students. In this video, we will discuss about 16th group elements, which is a continuation for P block elements. So, in last video, we have discussed about 15th group elements. Now, we'll discuss about 16th group elements. These 16th group elements are also known as chalcogens. So, this name is for 16th group elements because they can able to form ores. Okay. So they can able to form ores. That's why we can call 16th group elements as chalcogens. Ore forming elements are present in 16th group. That's why we will call them as chalcogens. So first we'll discuss what are the elements present in this group. So in this group we can see the presence of oxygen, sulfur, cellurium, tellurium and polonium. So these are the 5 elements present in 16th group: oxygen, sulfur, cellurium, tellurium, polonium. So all these belongs to 16th group because they can able to show the outermost configuration as Ns2 Np4. Okay, so these group elements can able to show Ns2 Np4. Whatever the elements can show Ns2 Np4 configuration, they belongs to this 16th group. Now we'll discuss about the general properties. Firstly, atomic radius. So this atomic radius increases from oxygen to polonium or oxygen to tellurium. Polonium is a radioactive element we can exclude while studying about the general properties. So in a group, always we want to study their properties from top to bottom. From oxygen to tellurium, so this atomic radius gets increases. So this increase in atomic radius due to increase in the number of energy levels. Next, ionization energy. When you observe ionization energies, so these ionization energies are decreases from oxygen to tellurium. Okay, from oxygen to tellurium, ionization energies or ionization enthalpies are decreased. Next one, electronegativity. So this electronegativity is very high for oxygen. As you know, the most electronegative element in the periodic table is fluorine, and the second most electronegative element is nothing but oxygen. So oxygen is more electronegative than cellurium, which is more electronegative than sulfur, and it is more electronegative than tellurium, which is more electronegative than polonium. See, it's not in a regular order. So after oxygen, the another most electronegative element in this group is selenium, then cellurium, then sulfur, then tellurium, and finally polonium. Okay. Now next property, that is density. If you observe density order, oxygen is less denser than sulfur, which is less than cellurium. Cellurium is less than denser than tellurium. That means tellurium is more denser. Okay, that means down the group always this density also gets increases. Next, melting points. So the melting points, when you observe melting points, sulfur is having less melting point than cellurium, than polonium, and than tellurium. Okay, so this is in the order of melting points. Next one, boiling points. The boiling point order is oxygen is having less boiling point than the sulfur, containing less boiling point than cellurium, which is having less boiling point than polonium, and finally tellurium is having the highest boiling point. So remember, there will be slight changes in the melting points and boiling points of this group. Okay, now we want to discuss about their oxidation states and chemical reactivities. So when you observe the existence of these elements, oxygen exists as oxygen exists as diatomic molecule. Okay, oxygen exists as diatomic molecule, and we can write it as O2. Oxygen exists as diatomic molecule. Sulfur, selenium, tellurium and polonium, so they can exist, so not polonium, these three can exist as octaatomic. Octaatomic means such kind of elements 8 together can exist, S8, Se8 and Te8. So these are about the existence of oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium and the 16th group elements. And next property is metallic. If you observe metallic nature, so this metallic nature increases from oxygen to polonium. Oxygen and sulfur are non-metals. Oxygen and sulfur are non-metals. Selenium and tellurium are metalloids. And polonium is a complete metal. So here you can observe from oxygen to polonium the metallic character increases. Oxygen is a non-metal, polonium is a complete metal. That means top to bottom always metallic character gets increases. And the next one is oxidation states. When you observe oxidation states of these group elements, as you know, it's outermost configuration as Ns2Np4. To reach noble gas configuration, what is noble gas configuration? Ns2Np6. So this is noble gas configuration. To reach this noble gas configuration, how many electrons it requires? 2 more electrons. There are 4 electrons in Np. To reach its configuration of noble gas, it requires 2 more electrons. Okay, whenever they gain these 2 electrons, when they gain these 2 electrons, they will get negative oxidation states. Remember, when they lose electrons, they will get positive state. When they gain electrons, they will get negative oxidation states. Then the common oxidation state of these group elements is said to be -2. Common oxidation state is -2. So why they are showing this as common oxidation state? Because to reach this noble gas configuration, they will take 2 electrons, then the common oxidation state is said to be -2. Okay. Now this -2 oxidation state, stability of -2 oxidation state from oxygen to polonium, it decreases. From oxygen to polonium, the stability of -2 oxidation state decreases. Polonium hardly can show -2 oxidation state. So from oxygen to polonium, the stability of -2 oxidation state decreases. Polonium in very rare cases hardly it can able to show -2 oxidation state. Now another oxidation state shown by the oxygen atom is oxygen shows even positive oxidation states in fluorides. Okay, oxygen can able to show positive oxidation states even when it forms fluorides. Fluorides of oxygen. So example here I am taking O2, F2 and OF2. So these two are the two different types of fluorides formed by the oxygen. As you know, as I already told you, the more electronegative element in the periodic table is nothing but fluorine. Fluorine is the more electronegative atom present in the periodic table. So whenever oxygen combines with fluorine, so it do not show negative oxidation state, it can able to or it tries to show positive oxidation states. Here two fluorine atoms are there, each fluorine atom can show -1 oxidation state. Because of having two fluorine atoms, okay, the negative charge shown by the fluorine is -2. Okay, when that -2 is shared by the oxygens, each oxygen will have +1 oxidation state. Okay, now here 2 fluorines -2. To balance this -2, now oxygen can show +2 oxidation state. So the oxidation state of oxygen in OF2 is +2, O2F2 is +1. This is very important. Okay, oxidation states of oxygen in fluorides. Along with -2 oxidation state, oxygen can able to show +1 and +2 oxidation state when it is involved in the formation of fluorides such as O2F2 and OF2. And even this oxygen can show some other oxidation states in peroxide and superoxide formation. When peroxide is formed by oxygen, peroxide formula H2O2 or R2O2 is the general formula. So in this peroxide formation, the oxidation state of oxygen is said to be -1. Okay, oxidation state of oxygen is -1. Next one, superoxides. While forming superoxides, the oxidation states, superoxide example we will take KO2. So in forming KO2 or superoxide, the oxidation state of oxygen is said to be -1/2. So when oxygen exists in peroxide state, it can show -1 oxidation state. When it exists in superoxide state, it can show -1/2 oxidation state. Oxygen do not show oxidation state beyond +2 because of the absence of vacant d orbital. It cannot expand its oxidation state. Other elements in this same group like sulfur, selenium, tellurium, they can able to show +2, +4 and +6 oxidation states due to the availability of vacant d orbitals. Okay, because of having vacant d orbitals in such elements, they can also show +2, +4, +6 along with -2 oxidation states. Okay, among all, +4 and +6 are most common oxidation states. +4 and +6 are most common oxidation states. Okay, now sulfur and selenium, tellurium, sulfur, selenium and tellurium can able to show +4 in oxides and +6 in fluorides formation. +4 in oxides and +6 in fluoride formation. Stability of +6 oxidation state decreases down the group. Okay, the stability of +6 oxidation state decreases down the group. Down the group in the sense from sulfur to tellurium. Okay, always it decreases. The stability of +6 oxidation state decreases from sulfur to selenium. And +4 oxidation state, the stability of +4 oxidation state increases from sulfur to tellurium. Stability of +4 oxidation state increases from sulfur to tellurium. So the bonding with +4 and +6 oxidation state is always covalent. Whenever the elements exist with +4 and +6 oxidation state, such type of compounds are always said to be covalent compounds. Okay, covalent compounds are formed by +4 and +6 oxidation states. Now this is about the oxidation states of 16th group elements. The common oxidation state is -2. Along with this, oxygen can also show positive oxidation states such as +1 and +2 when it involved in the formation of fluorides. When it is in peroxide state, oxygen can show -1. In superoxide state, oxygen can show -1/2. Other than +2 and -2, beyond +2, the oxygen cannot show any other type of oxidation state due to the absence of vacant d orbital, whereas other elements can also show +4 and +6. Okay, when they forms in oxides, it can show +4. When they form in fluorides, +6 is formed. So now we will discuss about general chemical properties of these 16 group elements. In that, the first property is formation of hydrides. How the hydrides are formed? When 16th group elements undergoes reaction with hydrogen present in the air, it can form hydrides. The specific type of hydrides formed by this group is H3M type. Here M is nothing but 16th group elements. Okay, M is nothing but 16th group elements. They can able to form H3M type of hydrides. Example we will take in place of hydrogen H3, so not MH3, MH2 type, MH2 type. So H2, in place of M if you take oxygen, it is H2O. H2, when sulfur reacts we will get H2S and H2Se, H2Te and H2PO. So these are the different types of hydrides formed by the 16th group elements. Now the ease of formation of the stability order decreases from H2O to H2PO. Okay, the stability order decreases from H2O to H2PO. So that means if you observe thermal stability order, down the group it decreases. That means H2O is more stable than H2S, which is more stable than H2Se, and it is more stable than H2Te. That means top to bottom always the thermal stability gets decreases. Next property is acidic strength. If you observe acidic strength of these group elements, the order H2O is less acidic than H2S, is less acidic than H2Se, which is less acidic than H2Te. So that is about the acidic strength of the group hydrides of the 16th group. Next, bond angle. Okay, bond angle decreases from H2O to H2PO. So it decreases. That means H2O is containing more bond angle than H2S, than H2Se, than H2Te. That means top to bottom the bond angle gets decreases. Next one, boiling point order. So when you observe the boiling point order of these hydrides, H2S is less boiling point containing H2Se, it is less boiling point containing H2Te, which is containing less boiling point than H2O. Okay, this is boiling point, it is in irregular order. Next one, volatile nature. What is meant by volatility? So volatility is nothing but the property to get evaporate into the environment when they are exposed to air. That is called volatile property. So when you observe that volatile property, that is very high for H2S, than H2Se, than H2Te, which is having more volatile property than H2O. As you know, when you keep this H2O in the room temperature, it will not get evaporate so easily. So that's why H2O is containing less volatile property than any other hydrides present in the same group. Okay, now we'll discuss the next important property. Next chemical property is formation of oxides. Whenever these 16 group elements undergo reaction with oxygen, they can able to form these oxides. Two important types of oxides are found by the 16th group elements. First one is dioxides and the next one is trioxides. Dioxides and trioxides. So example for dioxides are SO2, SeO2 and TeO2. Whereas for trioxide examples SO3, SeO3 and TeO3. If 3 oxygen atoms are there, those are said to be trioxides. If 2 oxygen atoms are involved in the preparation of oxides, those are said to be dioxides. O3 is the dioxide which may be treated as oxygen dioxide. Okay, we can also write it as O2. So this OO2 is known as one of the dioxide of oxygen. SO2 is gaseous in nature. SeO2 is volatile solid. Volatile means which can easily evaporate. Volatile solid. TeO2 is non-volatile solid. TeO2 is non-volatile solid. Okay, that is about the physical states of dioxide. So TeO2 and PoO2 are crystalline solids. Tellurium dioxide and polonium dioxide are crystalline solids. Order of acidic strength. When you observe acidic strength of these oxides, dioxides especially, SO2 is more acidic than SeO2, which is more acidic than TeO2. This is acidic strength of dioxides and trioxides. When you observe trioxides acidic strength, SO3 is more acidic than SeO3, which is more acidic than TeO3. That is about the acidic strength of dioxides and trioxides. Trioxides are more acidic than dioxides. These are more acidic than dioxides. Okay, whereas PoO2 is basic in nature. Polonium dioxide is basic in nature. So that is about the trends of these oxides. Now we will see about another important chemical property, that is formation of halides. These halides are formed when 16th group elements are undergoing reaction with halogen. When 16th group element react with halogen, it can form halides. So these group elements can form different types of halides such as M2X2 type, MX2 type, MX4 type and MX6 type. M2X2, MX2 dihalides, tetrahalides and hexahalides are formed by the 16th group elements. Till now we have discussed about the general properties of 16th group elements. Now we will discuss about the compounds of oxygen and sulfur. First we will see what are the compounds of oxygens. The first compound of oxygen is dioxygen, which is indicated by O2. We will see its preparation. So this dioxygen is prepared by taking 2 moles of KClO3. Okay, when it is heated on MnO2, it can be converted into 2 KCl plus 3 O2. Next one, when 2 moles of NaNO3, sodium nitrate, is heated, it can be converted into 2 NaNO2 plus O2. Okay, dioxygen is prepared when 2 moles of KMnO4, potassium permanganate, is heated. KMnO4 converts into K2MnO4. KMnO4 converts into K2MnO4 and it releases MnO2. Another MnO4 is converted into MnO2 plus O2. So that is about the preparation of dioxygen. By using these three, we can easily prepare dioxygen. Even by taking thermal decomposition of metallic oxides, they can also convert into oxygen. Thermal decomposition. Such thermal decomposition of metallic oxides can also give this dioxygen, that is Ag2O. When silver oxide 2 moles undergo heating, it can be converted into 4Ag plus O2. Next, HgO. This is mercuric oxide. When 2 moles of mercuric acid undergo reaction, 2Hg is released plus oxygen is removed. Next, Pb3O4, lead oxide. Pb3O4 is a lead oxide. When 2 moles of Pb3O4 converts or reacts, it releases 6 PbO. For 2s are 8 oxygens, in that 6 are used. 2 more oxygens can be released in the form of O2. In the same manner, PbO2, lead dioxide. Okay, 2 moles of lead dioxide also converts into 2 PbO plus O2. By using all these methods or thermal decomposition of metallic oxides, they can be converted into oxygen. One more important method is there, that is by taking peroxide. When H2O2, hydrogen peroxide, 2 moles of hydrogen peroxide react, it converts into 2H2O plus, releases 1 more mole of oxygen. All these are important methods to prepare this dioxazine. Okay, when you observe its properties, it is a colorless gas, colorless, odorless gas. O2 is present in the environment, but we cannot see and we cannot smell it because it is colorless and odorless gas, and it liquefies at 90 kelvins and freezes at 55 kelvins. It liquefies at 90 kelvins and freezes at 55 kelvins. So that is about the physical properties of this dioxazine. Now we'll see chemical properties. When you observe its chemical properties, it can undergo reaction with metals and non-metals. When it reacts with calcium, okay, it can be converted into CaO to CaO. Calcium oxide is released. When aluminum undergo reaction with oxygen, it can be converted into 2Al2O3. Aluminium trioxide is formed. In the same manner, this too is about reaction with metals. In the same manner, it can also undergo reaction with non-metals such as phosphorus and carbon. When phosphorus react with oxygen, it converts to P4O10. When carbon reacts with O2, it converts into CO2. So these two are reaction with non-metals. That means here the oxygen can undergo reaction with metals and non-metals, can give different types of products. In the same manner, even it can also react with some other compounds, that is like zinc sulfide. It can give zinc oxide 2 moles. Okay, when you take 2 moles, then sulfur react with remaining moles of oxygen, converts into sulfur dioxide. 2 moles of sulfur dioxide is obtained. When methane undergo reaction with 2O2, converts to CO2 plus 2H2. So these are the important preparations and chemical properties of this dioxazine. Now we'll see one more important compound of oxygen. Next compound of oxygen is known as oxides. A binary compound of oxygen with some other element is called oxide. A binary compound of oxygen with some other element is called oxides. There are two important types of oxides. First one is simple oxides. Next, second one is mixed oxides. Simple oxides examples are Na2O, Al2O3. So these are simple oxides. Mixed oxides. These mixed oxides are formed by the combination of two simple oxides. When two simple oxides are combined together, it leads to give mixed oxides. Okay. Example, we will take red lead and Pb3O4. When these two are combined, it leads to give another important type of oxide, which is known as mixed oxides. But in your syllabus, you have only about the simple oxides. These simple oxides are again classified into three types. First one is acidic oxides. Simple oxides are again of three types. First one is acidic oxides. So acidic oxides are non-metallic oxides. Non-metallic oxides. So when oxides of non-metals gives acids when they dissolve in water. So that's why we can call them as acidic oxides. Example, we will take CO2, NO2, SO2, SO3, etc. All these are oxides of non-metals. When they combined with water or dissolves in water, when CO2 is dissolved in water, it converts into H2CO3, which is said to be carbonic acid. The name itself indicating that acid. That means when these non-metallic oxides are dissolved in water, it can give acids. One more we will take, that is SO2. When SO2 undergo dissolution with water, it converts into H2SO3, which is known as sulfurous acid. Sulfurous acid. So non-metallic oxides on dissolution with water or soluble with water can give acids. So that's why we can call them as acidic oxides. Now the second type is basic oxides. Okay, so basic oxides. These oxides on reaction with water, they releases bases. Example, we will take Na2O, CaO and BaO. Barium oxide, calcium oxide and sodium oxides are basic in nature. Next, third type of oxides are amphoteric oxides. Amphoteric oxides. These oxides can give both the acids and alkalis on dissolution with water. That's why they are known as amphoteric oxides. Example, we will take ZnO, zinc oxide, lead oxide, Al2O3, SnO2, etc. We may take Al2O3 as best example. When Al2O3 is dissolved in water with NaOH. Okay, it can be converted into 2 moles of Na3AlOH taken 6 as the final compound. In the same manner, when Al2O3 dissolves in 6HCl and 9H2O, they can convert into 2AlH2O taken 6 compound and releases 6Cl minus. That means they can able to give both acids as well as bases when they dissolve in water. That's why such type of oxides are said to be amphoteric oxides. Now we'll discuss about compounds of sulfur. In that, the most important compound of sulfur is allotropic form of sulfur. So sulfur can exist in different types of allotropes. In that, the first one is rhombic sulfur. Next one is monoclinic sulfur. Okay, these two are the two important different types of sulfur which can exist in allotropic nature. So this is stable. Rhombic sulfur and monoclinic sulfur, two are different types of allotropic forms of this sulfur. Rhombic sulfur and monoclinic sulfur forms and exist as equilibrium. The temperature is 369. At this temperature, these two are in equilibrium with each other. Okay, at this 369 kelvins, both the types of sulfurs are in equilibrium with each other, and that temperature is called transition temperature. This is called transition temperature. The temperature at which both the different types of sulfurs are in equilibrium, then that is said to be transition temperature. Okay, above 369 kelvins, rhombic sulfur transforms to monoclinic sulfur. Rhombic sulfur converts to monoclinic sulfur above 369 kelvins. Whenever it is heated above more than 369 kelvins, it can be converted into monoclinic sulfur. That means at high temperature, monoclinic sulfur is stable. At low temperature, this rhombic sulfur is more stable. And this sulfur can exist with two different types of chemical formula, that is S8 and S6 type. So S8 type of sulfur is ring or crown structure. It is having crown structure. S6 type of sulfur is in chain form. Okay, crown form in the sense 8 sulfur atoms can exist like this. Okay, these 8 sulfurs exist together in the form of a crown. It resembles as crown. whereas S6 type of sulfur can exist like a chair. Okay, this is the chair form of sulfur with the S6 formula. This is crown form of the sulfur with S8 formula. Okay, that is about the allotropic forms of sulfur. Now we'll discuss another important compound of sulfur, which is known as oxoacid of sulfur. So different types of oxoacids are found by the sulfurs. So first type of oxoacid is sulfurous acid. Sulfurous acid. Sulfurous acid formula is H2SO3. Formula H2SO3. Oxidation state of sulfur here is +4. And if you observe the formula, sulfur which is in double bond formation with oxygen, and two more oxygens can make OH bonds. Okay, this is sulfurous acid. Next one is thiosulfurous acid. Thiosulfurous acid. So thiosulfurous acid formula is H2S2O2, and its oxidation state, sulfur oxidation state is +4 and -2. And here sulfur can be in one double bond with oxygen and two more oxygens. So double bond with sulfur, two oxygens are in bond formation with hydrogen, can exist as OH linkages. Next one, dithionous acid. Dithionous acid formula is H2S2O4 and the oxidation state is +3. Here two sulfurs are there. These two sulfurs are connected by single bond. Four oxygens, in that two oxygens can make double bond with each sulfur, and two more oxygens combined with hydrogen can exist as OH. Now next one is another important one, sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid formula H2SO4 and the oxidation state here is +6. So sulfur is in double bond formation with two oxygens, and two more oxygens can combine with hydrogen, exist as OH. Next, thiosulfuric acid. Thiosulfuric acid formula H2S2O3. Oxidation states of sulfurs are +6 and -2. Sulfur is in double bond with one more sulfur and double bond with oxygen, and two more oxygens combined with hydrogen can exist as OH. Next one is oleum. Oleum formula H2S2O7 and the oxidation state is +6. Two sulfurs are joined by one oxygen as a bridge oxygen, and four more oxygens can make double bond with sulfurs. Two more oxygens combined with hydrogen can exist as OH. So these are the different types of oxoacids formed by the sulfurs. Oxidation states of sulfurs in these oxoacids are very much important. Now the next important compound of sulfur is sulfuric acid. So the sulfuric acid is known as king of chemicals. King of chemicals, and it was also called as oil of vitriol. Oil of vitriol. Okay, these two are the other names of sulfuric acid. So this sulfuric acid can be prepared by contact process. Okay, by using this contact process we can prepare this sulfuric acid. So in that, firstly, when sulfur is burnt with oxygen, it can be converted into sulfur dioxide, or iron pyrites when undergo oxidation. Take here 4 moles. It can also be converted into iron oxide first, and sulfur dioxide is obtained. So this sulfur dioxide which is obtained in the first step undergo the second step. In the second step, this sulfur dioxide undergo oxidation in presence of a catalyst like V2O5. It can be converted into sulfur trioxide, 2 moles. So now In the third step, sulfur trioxide undergo reaction with sulfuric acid, or it is treated with sulfuric acid and converts into oleum H2S2O7. Finally, this oleum, whatever undergo dissolution with water, it converts into sulfuric acid H2S2O7. When it is dissolved in water, it can be converted into 2H2SO4. Sulfuric acid is obtained. The catalyst used here is nothing but vanadium pentoxide. Okay, so conversion of SO2 into SO3 is a reversible reaction and it is exothermic in nature. It is exothermic because it releases minus 196.6 kilojoules per mole amount of energy. So whenever the reaction releases energy, that is said to be exothermic reaction. So SO2 to SO3 conversion reaction is a exothermic reaction. So that is about the important preparation of the sulfuric acid. So this sulfuric acid has several chemical reaction. It can undergo reaction with the metals and non-metals. Okay, that is about the chapter 16th group elements.